today you join me again in my kitchen because we are going to be baking Belgian buns, as you can tell probably by the title of this video. And I have never made these before. These are my favourite bakery treat. Honestly, I love them. I've never made them, and I went for a stage of like having one every evening with my cup of tea. Terrible probably, but I did it anyway. And I thought, why have I never tried to make them? Because like I'm buying them all the time, so why not just make a batch? My favourite place to get Belgian bun is from Lidl's bakery. They are absolutely amazing. Nothing's quite beat the Lidl bakery ones yet. Greggs is quite close, but I like a Lidl bakery one. So if you can hear little rattling and crunching in the background, the cats are having a little snack. So that is what you can hear. But we are going to get to baking, as these obviously need to prove for a while. So I thought I would start them early, as it's kind of not an all-day process, but you've got to sort of let it prove for a bit, then roll them, then prove for a bit more before they go into the oven. Now, the recipe that I'm using, I always use a Jane's patisserie recipe, but she doesn't actually have a recipe for these that I've seen. I could be mistaken, but I couldn't find one. So I'm using the BBC Good Food. I will link this recipe down in the description. And originally I actually was going to use another recipe, but then I saw that it doesn't make that many, and also it was a very longed out process. So I've used BBC Good Food. I've used BBC Good Food before, and I was like, I'll go to this one actually. So that is what we're using. Oh wow. I've just got a text from my sister, and Fifi, my niece, has gone on a little school trip today to Wingham Wildlife Park. Oh, bless her. I bet she's having a great time. I love Wingham Wildlife Park. Anyway, I digress. Let's go back to what we're actually talking about. So I've got my ingredients here next to me. These are all the ingredients I have got. These are actually sultanas. We've just got them in like a sweets tub to keep them fresh. So you don't actually really need that much stuff, I'm gonna say, compared to when I bake a cake and you've got all the toppings and things. This isn't too bad, and most of it I had in my cupboard already. So the only things I actually had to buy was another pot of icing sugar and the cherries for the top, and everything else I had. Like I had the strong white bread flour. It actually does say on the recipe strong white flour, but I've searched it and it says it's the same thing as strong white bread flour. So that was another reason I thought, why not just make them? I've basically got everything already. So what we need is 450 grams of strong white flour plus extra for dusting, 7 grams of fast action yeast, 75 grams of caster sugar, 165 mils of warm milk, 1 large egg. Oh, I didn't actually read that, but 1 large egg beaten plus 1 egg for egg wash. So I will have to get another one out. 50 grams of unsalted butter, and then for the filling, 5 tablespoons of lemon curd, 150 grams of sultanas, and then obviously for the icing on top, 250 grams of icing sugar and 12, I don't actually know how to pronounce this, but these cherries. So, and I don't know how many you get in here, but you get a lot. So these, I think these were only £1.80 as well, which I was expecting to spend a lot on these, but not too bad, and you get a lot, so you can bet I'm going to be baking a lot of Belgian buns over the next few weeks. So let's get started, because I have no idea on this. Normally when I'm baking a cake or cookies and I have a rough idea of what I'm doing. When it comes to bread or pastries, not my forte. I have no idea what I'm doing. So step 1, mix the flour, yeast, caster sugar and 1 teaspoon of sea salt in a large bowl. Okay, let's start with that. So the flour, which is also, I prefer following a recipe out of a book. I hate following it on my phone because I have to keep scrolling up and down for the measurements. But right, 450 grams of flour. Let's start with that. I'm gonna just move you over slightly here so you can maybe see what I'm doing. As I've previously said, my kitchen is awful for filming, baking, cooking. It's just not ideal because you can't really see what I'm doing, but hopefully this is okay for the time being. So 450 grams of flour. I really hope that Google has done me good and it is the same thing. I've said this before, but always open flour, sugar, icing sugar. over the sink because it will go everywhere. So 450 grams. And then we're going to pop in the yeast, which we need 7 grams. The reason I have like strong white bread flour and yeast in my cupboard was because at Christmas last year I was supposed to make cinnamon rolls for Christmas breakfast, and no, before Christmas morning for breakfast, and I just never got around to it, so it was very handy that I've got all of this in here. But I will be making cinnamon rolls this Christmas. It's just that I got so busy and I just couldn't get around to it. What was that? Sorry, 7 grams of yeast. There we go, 7 grams of yeast. Then what does it say? We also need to add the caster sugar and salt, which is 75 grams of caster sugar. This in, if you can see what I'm doing. Let me double check, yeah, 75 grams. Whenever I use a new recipe, I doubt myself so much. I'm like, wait, even though I've just read the measurement, I'm like, wait, is it that measurement? Okay, that is all done. And then the salt, which is 1 teaspoon. And now I'm literally just going to give that a little mix around. Let's take it off the scales. There we go. And then we have to make a well, it says, which I kind of know because whenever I have baked sort of rolls or anything like that before, which is not often, or it's like a packet mix, I know you have to make a well when it comes to yeast 9 times out of 10. Ooh, it's gonna go everywhere. Okay, so that's all that. Yeah, make a well in the center and pour in the warm milk. So I'm just gonna heat this milk up. Well, I'm gonna measure the milk out and then heat it up. And let's make a little well in here. I don't know, is this good enough? This is my little well I've made in the flour. Hopefully this is okay. And I'm just going to measure the milk out and pop that in there. And then I also have to add in the egg and the melted butter. So yeah, we're going to warm the milk, melt the butter, beat the egg, and then that all goes in here. So we need 100 and... oh, where is the milk? 165 mils of milk. Let me get my jug. I am also just going to use the scales to weigh it out because it's more accurate. There we go, perfect. 165 mils. I'm going to pop that in the microwave. We're going to beat the egg in a little bowl. I think I've got a little red one in here. Let's crack that in here. Oh gosh, there we go. I wouldn't want to crack. That's that done. We'll beat that with a fork. I don't think there's necessarily much more to do. I think you just sort of make the dough and then you have to let it rest for a little while. Get another little red bowl. And it's funny because we have so many of these little red bowls which come in handy for like heating things up or things like that. They're literally just Christmas pudding bowls that they come in. So, I don't actually know how much, 50 grams of butter. There we go, 50, perfect. So I'm just gonna melt this and then I will be back. Everything is now ready to be poured into our well. I'm gonna pour in, this looks like a lot of milk. See, no, it is fine. I'm just second guessing myself again. So there's the milk. There is the egg. And there is the butter. So what do we do now? Do we leave it or mix well a soft dough forms? If it feels dry, add a bit of warm water. If it feels too sticky and wet, add 1 tablespoon of flour. Okay, so now we're going to mix this, and I'm actually going to put this into my KitchenAid, and I'm going to use the little dough hook here, just because I'm sure it will knead it a lot better than I ever could. So let's pop that in here. The work surface with flour and tip the mixture onto it. Knead the dough until it feels smooth and elastic. Shape into a ball and put it in a large, lightly floured bowl. Cover and leave to rise in a warm place for 1 hour or until doubled in size. Pop it into this orange bowl here and just dust that with some flour. Where did I even put my flour? Here it is. Just at the bottom and around the sides. And pop a bit of that flour onto my little chopping board to sort of knead it out a bit. And we'll see if it's the right consistency. Oh, actually, I don't think it's too bad. I don't think it's too sticky or anything. I don't know if you guys can see what I'm doing, but it's so weird, like, because I never bake anything with dough. Like, even when I make cookies, I do them so I just like spoon the mixture into a ball on the tray and then leave it at that. And then they bake into whatever shape they want. The only time I actually, to be fair, need a bit more flour. Let me take some from here. The only time I actually make sort of dough cookies is at Christmas when I make gingerbread cookies, because then you can like cut them into little shapes. So it says it has to feel elasticy. I just find it crazy how things like this can then double inside because you've sort of like added the yeast and not in. It's crazy. Right, I think this is about done now. So I'm gonna put it into a ball like it says. Let me just wash my hands. I'm gonna put it in here, I'm gonna cover it, and then I'm gonna pop it into a warm place for an hour. It should hopefully have doubled in size. And then we can put like all the filling and stuff in. So I will be back in an hour and we'll see, fingers crossed, if it's expanded. It has been an hour and I have not looked at this yet. I thought we could see it together, and hopefully, fingers crossed, it has risen. Yeah, it has. It has indeed. Look at that. Perfect. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Right, I'm so glad that has worked, because if that didn't work, then it would have been a fail, wouldn't it? I would have had to leave it for a lot longer. So let's have a look at what we're doing next. Yeah, so I have lined my baking tray with some baking paper as it says. So lightly dust a work surface and roll out the dough to 30 by 45 centimetres. That's very specific. I'm gonna have to try and find a ruler or a tape measure because I don't know. It'd be really handy if this board down here is their measurements. Wouldn't that be good? Right, let me just find a tape measure or a ruler and I will be back, because I don't want to do it by eye because I have absolutely no idea. I have measured it out and it is basically the length of that board. It's just a little bit longer, so I've actually put a spoon. So I need to do it the width of the chopping board, the length of this side of the chopping board to the spoon. That is how I'm working this out. So let me just wash my hands, put some flour on the surface, and then we can roll this out. So let's pop some flour down here. This is where it gets tricky because I always find that it just sticks, but then I also don't want to put too much flour down because then, you know, it becomes dry and crumbly. It's probably too much. Is that too much flour, or I don't know. And then obviously get some from my rolling pin. Might get a little bit messy here now, but let's tip this. Oh, it feels so nice and light as well. I'm very happy with that. Let's make sure it doesn't stick. And now, oh my gosh, it feels so easy to roll. I love it. Although I guess it's going to be quite thin though, if I'm rolling it out to that. But then I guess you roll it, you then roll it together, don't you? So, yeah. Let's just roll this out. I need to try and get it into a rectangle shape, and then I can focus on getting it the right length. Going to swivel this around. There we go. Now I can focus on getting this bit. Because that other bit hangs off the chopping board. You obviously want to make sure it's sort of even, because otherwise you might get thicker bits. So I've got my dough. I'm hoping this is okay. It's all rolled out, and then now what we can do is sort of like the more fun part. So evenly spread the lemon curd over the dough and sprinkle with sultanas. 5 tablespoons of lemon curd and 150 grams of sultanas. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the 5 tablespoons into another little red bowl and mix that so it's nice and smooth to put over the dough. And then we will weigh the sultanas over and sprinkle them on. So we're just going to spread this over. I'm going to go to all the edges. I'm not sure if you're supposed to, it doesn't say, but I'm just going to. Just going to weigh my sultanas out. It's fine to another little red bowl, put those in. Now I'm just going to sprinkle that all over. I want to try and get them as even as possible, but because I like a lot of raisins in mine. This doesn't seem like many, but they know better than I do. A lot better than I do. I guess you don't want too many. Oh, actually, no, this is like, there's quite a lot in here, actually. I stand corrected to get them as even as I can, so there's not like some buns with like not as many. This is all done, so what do we do next? Roll the dough lengthways from a Swiss roll to form a log. Cut into 12 equal sized buns with a sharp knife. Okay, so now we're gonna do a little roll. This is where it could go wrong. We've got to try. There's going to be, the bottom ones are going to actually be thinner because it's not a perfect rectangle. Okay, we're rolling up, rolling up, rolling up. You probably can't even, oh yeah, you can see it still. Okay, yeah, so we've got some thick ones and some thinner ones, but that is okay. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, so I've sort of done 3 fingers in between each one, and as I said, there are going to be some small ones, but that is okay. Beating this egg so we can use it as an egg wash. And now we've made those incisions, when I cut one, for example, this little one here, obviously where it's joined, I'm just going to put a little bit of egg wash here and press it down so they don't unravel, and I'm going to do that for each one. Just going to follow this process for all of them, just cutting them, egg washing the sides. See, these are thick ones. This is like what I wanted. Brush egg washing the sides so they don't unravel, and then we're going to do that until we've got all 12. Right, let's egg wash them. Very different shapes, very different sizes, but that is what we like. That is what we want. We want an array of different ones. So if you fancy a bit more, have a big one. If you fancy just a little nibble, get a tiny one. It's absolutely fine. Arrange spread apart on the prepared baking tray. Cover and leave to prove for another 45 minutes until doubled in size. Some of these are going to be very big then. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we have 12, because I was a bit worried I'd done some of them too big, but it said to cut them into, so you've got 12, and that's what I've got. So I am actually going to go and get another baking tray, because this is not going to be big enough. But if I can try and fit 6 on here, I don't know if we might have to end up cutting some apart if they spread quite a lot, mightn't we? I'm going to show you what they look like, because I didn't explain any of that well, but literally what I've done, obviously, put all the lemon curd raisins on sultanas, rolled it up, cut it up, egg washed the sides and popped them on to a tray, and now they look, can you see, now they look like this. So I'm going to cover these again and leave them to prove for 45 minutes, and they should have doubled in size, but I just don't think they're going to. Like, I can't see them getting any bigger, and those ones are huge. We're going to see, we're going to see. So you'll join me in about 45 minutes, fingers crossed they've risen and we can pop them into the oven. I've just brought them back into the kitchen now to have a look at them, and by the way they feel, by the way that I can see that they look like covered, I don't think they've done anything, so I might have to put them in for a bit longer. I don't know, they have actually, oh yeah, okay. They haven't, I wouldn't say they've doubled in size, but they have they've sort of flattened and spread out a bit, which is that what we want? Is that what's supposed to happen? Better than I thought they were going to. Yeah. Yeah. We're gonna stick to the recipe. I've done it for 45 minutes. And now we're going to put them in the oven. I have been heating the oven up. So what you need to do is pop it in the oven for 10 minutes at gas mark 6, and then turn it down to gas mark 4 and leave them in for another 10 minutes. This is how they're looking. They don't actually look too bad. They've come out a lot better than I thought they was going to, so that is a bonus. Once they're all baked, I'm going to leave them to cool down, and then we can decorate them with the icing and the little cherry on top. They are out of the oven and they have all cooled down, and this is how they have turned out. Let me pick one up here. I think they've turned out quite good, and they feel really nice and soft on the inside and on the bottom, so I'm very happy with these. Now all we have to do is decorate them, and I've made some icing. This is 250 grams of icing, and then I've just added a little bit of water until it's got a very thick consistency. Like, you don't want it, I know it looks runny, but it's not as runny as it looks. Like, you want it quite thick, you don't want it watery. And then I've got my little cherries, and now we can decorate them, which is honestly the part that I've been looking forward to the most. Hopefully you can see okay. And let's start with the small one. These two are probably the smallest. And like, this has come away a little bit, but I'm gonna get a bit of the icing, pop that on top, and then just swirl it over. I love it because I quite like a lot of icing on my Belgian buns, so it's nice that you sort of have control over how much goes on there. So that is that one all iced, and then let's get a little cherry to pop on top. Look. Oh my gosh, this is so exciting to me. I'm so like, this is the bit that I've been like, they're actually gonna like really come together now, actually look how I envisioned them. Put some of that. I'm actually just going to use, for the bigger ones, I'm just going to use a big spoon. And I tell you what, they smell amazing as well. And to be honest, they're not, I wouldn't say it was massively difficult to make. It is something that you've sort of got to leave, come back to, leave, and then come back to. But the middle parts of actually making them, I wouldn't say it's that like tricky. There we go, that's a better one, isn't it? And I don't mind if it drips down the sides. So I am now going to stand here and decorate all of these with some icing, and then I will be back to show you the show you the finished product. But I'm quite happy with these, I'm not gonna lie, I'm very happy with these. And then we'll have to give it obviously a little taste test. So I will come back once they're all decorated. This is how they've turned out, and I'm so incredibly happy with them. Let me just give you a little close-up look. So there are a few little ones that came off at the edge. That's the smallest one actually, but I don't think they look too bad at all for a first attempt. It is now, of course, only right to try one. Let's pick one up to try. I think I'm gonna try this middle one here. I'm gonna have a bite and then have the rest after my dinner. But look at this. Oh my gosh, this honestly looks amazing. And I just love, like, I'm really happy with how the bottom came out as well. Oh my God, guys. I'm so happy with how these have turned out. I actually am so shocked. These taste so good. I don't even know if I'm gonna have to be able to wait until dinner to finish this. That's so yummy. That's so good. So for a first attempt, I think they taste really nice. And I am definitely going to be baking them again because I've got some cherries left. I've got a lot left. So I think that might be my new thing I'm gonna bake and try and like perfect it. But I think they came out very well. So thank you all so much for watching. Let me know if you try to bake these, and if you do, how they come out. But I hope you're all doing well, and if you're following along with the June vlogs, I will see you all tomorrow.